What's up, YouTube? It's time for an overall brawler video ranking every brawler from 1 to 21. It's been a while since we've done one. We've had some balance changes, a brand new meta. So let's talk about who the best brawlers are and who the worst ones all the way through. Now, of course, this is an overall brawler ranking video. It combines all game modes together to determine a brawler's true strength. A lot of these brawlers in the bottom 10 might potentially be amazing in one game mode, but it's about all of them together. So let's start out at the bottom. At number 21, the worst brawler in Brawl Stars right now is Bo. Bo is just not great at anything. He's not even that good at that much either. Pretty much the only place you really want to play Bo, for the most part, is those maps where his star power is really useful. He's also, Bounty is definitely his favorite mode. It's also probably the least favorite mode of the people in general. Bo is just not that great right now. And at 20, the second worst brawler in the game right now is Mortis. Mortis is also suffering right now with the new meta. It really doesn't favor him, but to be honest, there's not really many metas that do favor Mortis. He struggles a lot in this auto-aim era of Brawl Stars, and he's not that great at that much. Brawl Ball is his best mode, and right now he's not the best ball carrier. So he's really suffering overall, and he is definitely going to be the second worst brawler in Brawl Stars. At 19, it's going to be Piper. Now, Piper is definitely going to be the queen of Bounty. Outside of Bounty, she can definitely struggle. She's a bit map dependent. Not a bit. She's really map dependent outside of Bounty. She's usable on a couple jump grab maps. She's usable to a degree in Showdown and Duo Showdown, but it does definitely depend on the map and, well, your luck. But outside of that, she's really not playable. Obviously really bad in Heist and not good in Brawl Ball. Piper also has a pretty high skill cap if you want to be really good with her. And on top of that, it's not a great meta for Piper. With Frank, a lot of Primo, a lot of high health brawlers that take a lot of hits for Piper to kill. This is not Piper's time to shine. At 18, we're going to have a brawler who's really not great at anything. He's not maybe horrible at that much. It's Bull. Bull is definitely his best mode is going to be Heist, where he plays second fiddle to Daryl as the second best tank, and outside of Heist he tends to be just okay. He can do a little bit better than the other tanks, as his super is not bad in regards to breaking through walls and getting to people. He's an okay brawler overall. He's, again, not that great in that much. He tends to be decent at best in most everything, and that's all you can say for Bull. But at 17, it's his counterpart, it's Daryl. Daryl's a little bit of a different story. He's the ace in the hole in Heist. By far the best brawler in Heist by a long shot, but he's a little bit worse than Bull in almost everything else. His super definitely hinders him in other game modes where it helps him a ton in Heist. So Daryl, inconsistent at best, but except in Heist. At 16, we have, in my opinion, the king at being decent at freaking everything, but not good at anything. It's Colt. Colt, man, I kind of feel bad for him, but I kind of don't, because he's usable in pretty much every single game mode. He's okay, he's decent, you can do well with him in every single game mode, but he's also not good. He's not really good at anything, in anything at all, for any of the game modes. At best, he's probably decent, but he's decent in everything. So it's hard to feel too bad for him, but, I mean, he does have the potential to deal decent damage, but he's not very consistent, and he's got low health. His super is not the best, but he's not bad. All right, at 15, honestly, this one really ended up surprising me where she ended up falling. I thought it was going to be a little bit different. At 15, it's Shelly. Shelly is actually really hurt in this Frank meta. It might be a bit of a surprise, as you would think a shotgunner is able to counter Frank pretty well, but in reality what ends up happening is Shelly ends up charging Frank's super pretty well. And unless Shelly is able to be point blank right next to Frank, and usually that tends to rely on the Frank not being smart. If the Frank doesn't play smart and the Frank doesn't keep his distance, Shelly will win. And of course, if Shelly has super and Frank doesn't, there's good potential there. But otherwise, Frank is going to get his super first, and Shelly's going to give Frank her super. Shelly has honestly fallen in this meta because of stuff like that. While Shelly is still good in heist as a defensive brawler and still good in brawl ball, Shelly is not that great elsewhere. Gem grab definitely struggles. Showdown, a lot of people stay away from Shelly's. Even in duo showdown, Shelly is not super strong. Bounty, also not super strong. So you find Shelly being decent to good in brawl ball and heist. But outside of that, Shelly does definitely struggle. All right, at 14, this brawler's had the opposite effect of the Frank meta. It's El Primo. El Primo is one of the best counters to Frank in the game right now, as tied for him with the same amount of health, and he has that same faster move speed, and he can just really work on Frank, make it really hard for Frank to get his hits once El Primo is in range. So El Primo is seeing a higher usage rate. He's now the best gem carrier, or sorry, not gem carrier, ball carrier in Brawl Ball, so he's a really good Brawl Ball player right now. He's also seeing a little bit higher usage rate in Gem Grab, as he is that Frank counter. Elsewhere, he tends to struggle a little bit, but overall, he is rising in the rankings because he is really good versus Frank. Now at 13, this brawler did just get that damage buff. It's Pam, and she is rising overall a little bit in usage across the board. She's obviously really good in Gem Grab, but she's also decent in a lot of other places. She's decent in Bounty, she's decent in Showdown, decent in Duo Showdown, okay in Brawl Ball, and you're actually seeing a little bit of Pam in Heist even. As crazy as that is, it is happening. Pam is definitely rising in the rankings. She's a little bit decent pretty much everywhere and really good in Gem Grab. And hey, hard to complain. All right, we got another turret user at 12. It's going to be Penny. Penny also got a damage buff, a little bit smaller, only 5%, but also got that piercing buff as well. And we're seeing Penny become really, really used in Bounty now. Penny is now one of the best brawlers in Bounty with her turret. Can be really, really destructive with that 12 tile range. Really hard to deal with. Of course, Penny's also really good in Gem Grab. Penny maybe not quite as versatile as Pam, but Penny is going to be really good in Bounty, and that's what separates Penny from Pam, in my opinion. Penny's also pretty decent in Showdown, okay in Duo Showdown, but otherwise that's going to be it for Penny. All right, at 11, we're going to have Crow. Crow is pretty good, of course, in Heist. He's also pretty good in Showdown, in Duo Showdown. And he's also pretty decent in a couple other game modes, like Gem Grab, like Brawl Ball as well. So definitely, and Bounty even. So Crow, a pretty versatile brawler. He definitely isn't very strong. He's not going to be amazing in any of these game modes, really, but he's definitely pretty reliable with that fast move speed. His maneuver ability and that jump makes him a good asset to any team. All right, at 10, it's going to be Ricochet. Now, you might be thinking, well, wait, why is Ricochet so much higher than Colt? Well, it's just because Ricochet is able to be a lot more useful with that bounce. That's a really key ability and allows him to get damage in ways that Colt just can't. Ricochet is really good in Gem Grab, and he is decent pretty much in every other game mode, so he is going to be definitely higher, and he just has the ability to do a lot more from hard angles, hard to reach areas. It's an ability that can be really key at getting kills that other people can't get, similar to how a thrower can get kills. Ricochet can as well by being in places that people just can't reach. Now at number 9, we have a brawler who is taking a bit of a fall because of his nerf, Dynamite. Dynamite got that super delay nerf where his super is now 0.2 seconds slower to explode and is definitely affecting him. It is a lot harder to auto-aim his super now, which I'm sure is affecting a lot of people because they were all probably used to doing that. Now you got to manually aim that super with Dynamite if you want the best success. He is still a good brawler and he's good in a lot of different game modes. Of course, as I was just saying, that ability to throw over walls, be in places that people can not reach you while you can attack them is still a really strong ability, and Dynamite is usable or good or great in a lot of different game modes. He's still very, very viable. His super is just going to not hit quite as much, and you can't rely on it with auto-aim. Now at number 8, man, this brawler is really loving this meta. It is Jessie. Jessie also got a buff recently, 5% damage buff, but she is by far the best of the turret users right now. This meta is great for her. Whenever it's a short-range meta, Jessie's turret can do work. And you're also seeing that nerf to, well, Dynamite. And throwers can also counter Jessie as well. Jessie has a star power to keep her turret up, but when there's a bunch of short-range brawlers, it's really hard for them to get down her turret. And also, those short-range brawlers are usually pretty easy hits for Jessie. So Jessie is seeing really good usage rates across the board. She's being used a lot more in different game modes. Of course, she's really good in gem grab, also good in brawl ball, and pretty good in duo showdown, definitely. Also pretty decent in showdown as well. At 7, we have the best thrower right now, in my opinion, Barley. Barley is just a little bit more of a consistent brawler than Dynamite right now. Of course, Dynamite had the nerf, so it's understandable. Barley, in my opinion, has probably surpassed Dynamite. Unless you are a god tier Dynamite, I would say Barley is better in most cases. Barley is going to be a little bit better in gem grab, and otherwise she's just a little bit more consistent, even though Dynamite has a better damage potential than Barley. But still, throwers, of course, are really, really strong right now, and they're good in almost every single game mode except for any long-range map. Otherwise, why not take a thrower? Alright, at 6, in my opinion, we have the best long-range brawler in the game right now. It's Brock. Brock is good in a lot of different things. Obviously, really good in bounty. He's also really good in duo showdown. Still good in showdown. Maybe brawl ball, he's just okay. Gem grab, depends on the map, but he can be really good. Brock is just a really versatile brawler, obviously a long range. He also does good damage, and even at close range, he can still, with a really large projectile, deal damage really fast and have a really good hit ratio. He's going to hit a lot of his shots, and he is really hard to deal with. His super has really high potential, even though it doesn't always get the hits you want. It's still a threatening super that you have to respect. So Brock is going to be a good to really good brawler in a lot of different game modes right now. I would definitely not underestimate. All right, now for the top 5 brawlers. At number 5, we have Nita. Nita is still really strong, right? Nita has been really strong and hasn't received any nerfs, and this meta is not really hurting Nita that much. Yeah, Frank can do damage to Nita, but if you play Nita really well on certain maps, you can definitely get hits on Frank without Frank getting hits on you, so it's not a huge problem as it is like with Shelly. So Nita is still really good in gem grab, really good in brawl ball, pretty good in showdown, and that's mostly it with Nita, but Nita is just really strong overall, is really hard to deal with, has a lot of health, a really fast reload speed, and his bear, or her bear, sorry, is actually also a really good counter to Frank as well, as if Frank is stopping to shoot, that bear is getting hits, and Frank, without his star power, is not going to take down that bear really fast. So Nita is still a really good brawler, even in this meta. Cannot underestimate Nita. Alright, at number 4, this brawler technically got a nerf. It's Poco. Poco got a 5% damage nerf. Not a big nerf. So that's why Poco's still really, really good. And Poco's just strong in a lot of different game modes. Obviously, still really strong in gem grab. Even with those other gem carrier buffs, Poco is still probably the best overall consistent gem carrier in gem grab. But also really good in brawl ball, usable in heist, really good in showdown and duo showdown as well. Poco is just a really strong overall brawler. Can still get his hits really fast. He's going to be able to do a good amount of overall damage, especially if anyone is grouping up at all. Poco is going to be a really strong force and has that heal plus a really high amount of health. Poco is still a really good brawler. All right, now at number 3, it's going to be Tara. Tara, one of the best brawlers in gem grab and brawl ball, and also good in other modes as well. Tara is one of the few brawlers who can counter Frank with that super. If you have all your shots and you super Frank, you can destroy Frank pretty well, and it's really hard for Frank to counter you. As hey, Frank does not get those hits in pretty quickly. So Tara is able to deal with that. One of the few brawlers who can. But overall, Tara has been a strong brawler. Like Nita, Tara was in the top 5 before and didn't get any nerfs. So Tara is still a really good brawler. And is also good in this meta anyways. So Tara is definitely a strong brawler right now. Alright, now for the number 2 brawler in Brawl Stars right now. It's going to be Frank. That's right. Frank is actually going to be number 2, not number 1. I'm sure a lot of you were expecting Frank to be number 1, but he's not going to be my number 1 for a good reason. Frank is maybe the more OP brawler in specific game modes, but he's not quite as versatile as the number 1 brawler. Frank is really good in brawl ball, really good in gem grab, but he's not going to be super consistent in, for instance, bounty or heist, which the other brawler is. So Frank is really good in a lot of stuff. Like, he is top tier, one of the best brawlers in those modes, But in heist and bounty, he's not really that usable, honestly, even. So you could, but there's much better options than Frank in those game modes. But otherwise, I mean, Frank is really strong. His extra range just allows him to get his super that much easier now, and it only takes 3 hits to get it. And once Frank has that super, you're in trouble. There's not much you can do. All you can really do is hope that he wastes it and just stay out of his range, because otherwise, you're dead. There's not much you can do. Once he hits you, it's game over. So it's such a long stun. It's such a strong super. The strongest in the game, except for maybe Tars. One of those two is definitely the strongest. So Frank, obviously OP right now. Alright, at number 1, the best brawler in Brawl Stars. If you haven't figured it out, it is Spike. Spike is just one of the best brawlers in every single game mode. Maybe he's not the best brawler like Frank is in some, but he is one of the best in every single game mode. Spike just does a lot of damage. He can attack around walls. He can do that chip shot, shoot, and go back behind the wall really easily, and it's just really hard to deal with Spike. Obviously, his weakness is his low health, but he does such a high amount of damage. And his super can go over walls, slow down people as an area stun, not stun, but area slow. And it's a really effective super at area control or getting kills when needed, or even if you have a star power, healing himself. So while he has that low health, he can heal back up and deal a lot of damage at the same time as well. And Spike is just so hard to deal with. And Spike is just going to be the best brawler in Brawl Stars for me, almost no question. Alright, well that's going to be my ranking video. Let me know down below what ones you would agree with, disagree with. Guys, thank you so much for watching to this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you later.